As the stars twinkle in the vast expanse of space, we find Gene, our protagonist, contemplating his dreams of becoming a space captain while spectating a rocket launch from a safe distance. Little did he know that rocket wasn't just carrying some high officials, it was also packed with more drama than a soap opera. These officials were on a mission, not just for any girl, but for one with a treasure so coveted it'd make pirates drool. But before they could get their hands on her, they had to deal with Gene and his band of misfits. The Blue Squad, led by the charismatic yet clueless Blue leader, attempted to attack the girl's ship, only to be thwarted by a mysterious barrier. Talk about hitting a cosmic roadblock. Meanwhile, on planet Sentinel-3, amidst its thriving population and bustling industry, a shady figure named Rob Kane strolled into a local bar with one thing on his mind: Gene. Turns out, these two had some unresolved beef, probably over who got the last slice of space pizza. Gene, never one to shy away from confrontation, confronted Rob like a boss, only to find out he was up against a cyborg. Talk about upbraiding your enemies. After a heated exchange of words and bullets, Gene managed to outsmart Rob with a well-aimed stab to his cyborg weak spot, much to the relief of the bartender, who probably thought he'd have to clean up another mess. With Rob out of the way, Gene's attention shifted to more pressing matters, like enjoying some quality time with his girlfriend. But as fate would have it, trouble was brewing in the cosmos, and Gene's peaceful night was about to take a detour into adventure. The next day brought new challenges like repairing tractors and fending off space pirates. But Gene, being the fearless hero he is, took it all in stride, even when faced with 3 cyborgs and a masked mystery woman named Rachel, who turned out to be none other than the elusive Hilda. As bullets flew and grenades exploded, Gene found himself at a crossroads, quite literally, with pirates on one side and a trunk full of secrets on the other. But with quick thinking and a little help from his trusty sidekick Jim, Gene unlocked the mystery of the trunk to reveal a lady. Talk about unexpected cargo. And so as the stars twinkled overhead and the adventure unfolded, Gene and his newfound allies embarked on a journey through the cosmos, ready to face whatever challenges came their way, one witty remark and laser blasts at a time. Gene and Hilda are in a bit of a pickle, with pirates hot on their heels and a surprise guest in the trunk. But wait, who's in the trunk, you ask? None other than Melfina, the girl who's about to wake up and spill the beans on why she's been snoozing in a cold sleep. Talk about a morning wake-up call. But before Gene can grill Hilda about Melfina, there's a little matter of fixing her cyborg arm. And guess who's on repair duty? None other than Jim, the handyman with a knack for fixing things and occasionally breaking them. With Hilda's arm good as new, Gene's itching to uncover the truth about his new outlaw buddy. Like Hilda's playing it cool, dodging questions like a pro and leaving Gene more confused than a space cat in a laser pointer factory. Just when things couldn't get any weirder, the pirates come knocking, demanding Melfina like she's the last slice of space pizza. But Gene's not one to back down, even with only a couple of bullets left and a dud in the chamber. As Hilda and Jim make a daring escape in her dropship, Gene's left to face the music, literally, as Hilda's ship blasts off into the sky, leaving him with a ton of unanswered questions and a naked Melfina. Fast forward to Blue Heaven, the Outlaw's paradise where trouble lurks around every corner, and even the Carbonite has an attitude problem. But hey, at least there's a dress shop for Melfina and a bar for Gene and Hilda to hash out their plans over a cold one. But just when they thought they could catch a break, McCoy's brothers crashed the party, looking for a slice of the action. Luckily, Hilda's got a mean right hook and Gene's got a knack for ducking. With McCoy's brothers out cold and the night winding down, Gene and Hilda retire to their shared room, ready to face whatever challenges the next day brings. Little do they know, trouble's lurking in the shadows and it's got a shiny metal exterior. As they're rudely awakened by a giant robot in the hallway, Gene and Hilda realize that their night is far from over. But with Hilda's quick thinking and Gene's trusty fists, they'll tackle whatever comes their way, one punchline at a time. Welcome to the wild world of Enheim, where even a trip to the bathroom can turn into a cosmic showdown. So as the tension heats up faster than a microwave on steroids, Gene whips out his trusty revolver, much to Hilda's dismay. But fear not, dear Hilda, for these bullets are of the paint variety, perfect for redecorating a giant robot's face. As the paint splatters and the robot's vision becomes about as clear as a foggy day on Neptune, our dynamic Dew springs into action. Hilda, with the grace of a ninja ballerina, pounces on the hapless attacker like a cat on a mouse, ready to extract some juicy intel. And lo and behold, the attacker spills the space beans. Someone by the name of McDougal wants them captured and kept on Blue Heaven. But who's this McDougal character, you ask? Well, he's about as popular as a space rock in a galaxy full of stars, and twice as dangerous. With the bad guys tied up and handed over to Carbonite, the inquisitive Q can't help but wonder what Hilda's mixed up in this time. But our fearless outlaw remains cool as a cucumber, dropping hints about the Galactic Leyline like it's the hottest gossip in the cosmos. But before they can jet off into the sunset, there's the small matter of Horus needing a tune-up. And while Hilda's itching to hit the space highway, Gene's got a rumble in his stomach that only a space burger can fix. After a quick lunch break and some not-so-subtle hints from Carbonite, our crew is back on track, ready to face whatever dangers lie ahead. And let me tell you, trouble's brewing faster than a cup of instant space coffee on max power. As they navigate the asteroid belt like a cosmic game of dodgeball, a new player enters the scene, the Tarktarl Empire, complete with a stubborn cruise ship and a whole lot of attitude. But Hilda's not one to back down from a challenge, and with a little diplomatic finesse, she manages to navigate her way past the Empire's ship like a seasoned space captain. With the Empire in their rearview mirror and the pirates hot on their tail, Hilda and the gang race towards their next destination, the fabled Galactic Leyline. But little do they know, McDougal's got a few tricks up his sleeve, and they're about to face their toughest challenge yet. As they touch down on a deserted planet in search of a grappler ship, the stakes are higher than a satellite in low orbit. With the pirates closing in and the Empire on their trail, our crew is in for the ride of their lives. Hilda and her crew land on the asteroid, ready to claim their prize, the legendary grappler ship built from the brains of pirates and the tech of Space Force. But as they step inside, they realize this ship is no ordinary ride. It's got a mind of its own, quite literally. Meet Gilliam 2, the ship's eye with a personality as quirky as a robot comedian. But there's a slight glitch. Gilliam doesn't recognize Hilda or her crew thanks to some deleted files in his memory. Talk about a cosmic case of amnesia. But Hilda's not one to let a glitchy eye rain on her parade. With a flick of a switch and a command from Hilda, Gilliam reluctantly fires up the engines, ready for takeoff. But there's a catch. Gilliam's not too keen on piloting the ship himself, leaving poor Melfina to do the heavy lifting. And as if that wasn't enough, the ship's navigation is wonkier than a space cowboy on a unicycle. As the crew scrambles to get the ship off the ground, a warning blares from Horus. The pirate ships are closing in, faster than a comet on a collision course. With Jean at the helm and Hilda ready for battle, they launch into action, rockets blazing and lasers firing. But just when they think they've got the upper hand, the enemy ships breach the base, ready to take them down. But Hilda's got a trick up her sleeve. She rotates the asteroid base like a giant cosmic shield, sucking the enemies into the void of space. Talk about a stellar move. But the pirates aren't going down without a fight. They grapple onto Horus, threatening to drag them into the abyss. With no weapons to speak of, Jean gets creative, using the ship's grappler arms to fend off the attackers. But just when they think they've won, McDougal shows up with a score to settle, ready to blow them all to smithereens. And as the asteroid base hurtles towards a burning star, it's a race against time to escape the fiery fate. In a daring escape worthy of a space opera, Jean blasts out from the base, narrowly avoiding the enemy's grasp. But Hilda's not so lucky. Trapped by the enemy's anchors, she makes the ultimate sacrifice, taking out the enemy and herself with this self-destructing bomb. As the dust settles and the stars twinkle overhead, Jean christens the ship Outlaw Star, a symbol of their defiance against the forces of the universe. And so, with a new ship and a heavy heart, our intrepid crew sets sail for the stars. Jean and the gang are back in blue heaven, ready to tackle whatever the universe throws their way. But there's a slight hitch. Hilda's not with them, and Swanzo's scratching his head like a space monkey with a complex puzzle. After some smooth talking from Jean and a little help from Jim's puppy dog eyes, they get the green light to enter blue heaven. But before they can kick back and relax, Jean drops the bombshell. Hilda's gone, lost to the stars like a cosmic shooting star. With Swanzo's blessing, Jean sets his sights on registering and painting the Outlaw Star, but there's just one tiny problem. He's flat broke. But fear not, dear Swanzo, for Jean's got a plan. He'll pay up once he hits the big time. Swanzo agrees, owing a debt of gratitude to Hilda that even space credits can't repay. Meanwhile, Jim's got his eyes on some shiny new toys, but Swanzo puts the brakes on that idea faster than a rocket on full thrust. With the paint and registration sorted, there's no room in the budget for fancy gadgets. As they stroll through town, Jean's mind is racing faster than a warp speed engine. He's on a mission to uncover the truth about Hilda, the pirates, and those pesky McDougal brothers. But as they delve deeper into Hilda's past, Melfina's left with more questions than a malfunctioning eye. Jean's frustration boils over like a space volcano, blaming Melfina for Hilda's demise. But before they can drown their sorrows in a pint of space ale, they're interrupted by a familiar face, Aisha, the ex-ambassador with a chip on her shoulder and a thirst for vengeance. With Aisha hot on their heels, Jean and Melfina make a run for it, dodging lasers and insults like a pair of space ninjas. But just when they think they've lost her, Aisha's back with a vengeance, ready to unleash her android fury. But Jean's not one to back down from a fight, especially when there's a damsel in distress. With a well-placed blow and a little help from Jim's handy bullets, Aisha's down for the count, at least for now. As they bid farewell to Swanzo and Blue Heaven, Jean's mind is already on the next adventure. With a promise to uncover the truth about Aisha's past and a ship painted in the color of his fiery hair, they blast off into the unknown, ready for whatever the universe throws their way. And so, dear reader, the saga of the Outlaw Star continues, with more twists and turns than a hyperspace roller coaster. So, there's this guy, Jean, right? He's cruising through space on his first ever landing at Sentinel-3, but let's just say he's not exactly a pro at it. The poor guy practically crash lands the Outlaw Star, narrowly avoiding a space catastrophe. Once he stumbles out of the wreckage, Jean's like, alrighty, time to find this Fred Lou dude. He rents a beat-up car, because let's be real, space travel doesn't pay like it used to. and heads over to Fred's pad. Now Fred, he's about as friendly as a golden retriever at a dog park. But get this, he's not just friendly, he's also a bit clingy to the fellas. He gives Melfina a casual nod, but practically bear hugs Jean and his buddy James. Talk about personal space invasion. So Jean starts chatting with Fred about his new spaceship, hoping for some help. But Fred, being the friendly prankster he is, decides to crack a joke. Jean, not exactly in the mood, instinctively pulls out his blaster, ready to go all space cowboy on poor Fred. Next thing you know, Fred's guards are about to blast Jean into orbit. But Fred, bless his heart, diffuses the tension like a pro. He apologizes for not being able to help Jean financially, and Jean storms out, gun tucked away and ego slightly bruised. As Jean makes his dramatic exit and walks this mysterious lady in red, looking like she just stepped out of a samurai movie. Fred recognizes her, and before you can say plot twist, she's slicing and dicing Fred's guards like they're yesterday's leftovers. Turns out, she's here to take Fred out, but she's got this weird sense of timing. She gives Fred a 5-minute grace period before she comes back for the kill. I mean, who does that? Assassins these days, I tell ya. Just when things couldn't get any crazier, Jean bursts back in, and it's showdown time. Swords clashing, guns blazing, well, kinda, since Jean's out of bullets. It's like a space opera meets a martial arts flick. In a last-ditch effort, Jean throws his demands at Fred, who's too busy dodging blows to negotiate. But hey, at least Fred spills the beans about this assassin being an ultra-class A threat. Thanks for the heads up, Fred. As Jean heads out, he grabs some weapons, because you never know when you'll need to fend off an assassin, and heads to his hotel. But guess who's waiting outside? Yep, it's the assassin, Suzuka, ready to settle the score once and for all. Cue the epic car chase with Jean and James hauling tail out of there faster than you can say space speed limit. But Suzuka's not one to give up easily, and she's hot on their tail. Just when it seems like all hope is lost, Jean pulls off this crazy maneuver, disarming Suzuka and accidentally untying her dress. Yeah, things got weird. But hey, in the chaos, Jean manages to strike a deal with Suzuka to spare Fred's life in exchange for her katana. Smooth move, Jean. Smooth move. So now Jean's left with a hefty debt, 750,000 wons to be exact. But hey, at least Fred gave him a discount. And all it cost him was a little space drama and a lot of adrenaline. Just another day in the life of a space cowboy, am I right? The torch star world where our boy Jean does his thing is vast and wild. Out in the fringes of the frontier, where the action's as hot as a plasma cannon, you've got 4 big shot pirate groups all duking it out for the top spot. And guess what? One of these merry bands of space troublemakers has set their sights on none other than the Outlaw star and its precious cargo, Melfina. Meet the 108 stars, the bad boys and girls of the Hoppo system, and the meanest bunch this side of the Milky Way. Led by the one and only Tendo King, they're like the Avengers of the Chinese guild, only with more swords and less spandex. Each group, made up of 10 or 20 roughnecks, does their own thing, but they all answer to the big boss, Hazanko. And let me tell you, this dude's got more influence than a black hole at a gravity party. Word on the space streets is that Hazanko's got some serious mojo up his sleeve. His crew wields this crazy power called Senjutsu, which is basically space magic on steroids. And if you're dumb enough to cross them, well, let's just say it's game over, man. Game over. But enough about the bad guys, let's check in on our hero Jean. Turns out he's having a bit of a rough patch with the old Outlaw star. The ship's acting up, so he's stuck twiddling his thumbs at home while Melfina packs their bags. Jim's off playing detective, trying to track down his missing car like it's the Holy Grail or something. Just when things couldn't get any weirder, Jim rolls up in his car like he's starring in his own action movie. Meanwhile, Clyde the bartender is pouring drinks and swapping stories about Jean's supposed demise. Classic Clyde. Jean takes a sip of his drink, feeling all introspective and stuff, while Jim's busy doling out tough love about their empty pockets. But hey, at least they got each other, right? Later that night, as they're strolling through the neon-lit streets, Jean starts waxing poetic about the vastness of space. Jim's rolling his eyes like, here we go again. But Melfina's just soaking it all in, probably wondering why she signed up for this cosmic circus in the first place. Fast forward to the next day, and Jean's knee-deep in ship repairs when he gets called to the principal's office for a chat. Meanwhile, Jim's tinkering with some tractor or whatever, blissfully unaware of the chaos about to unfold. Suddenly, all hell breaks loose as some goon tries to break into the Outlaw star. Gilliam, the ship's ally, is not having it and shuts the intruder down like a boss. But wait, there's more. Another intruder's after Melfina, and this one means business. Just when things are looking grim, in swoops Suzuka, the samurai assassin of the Heart of Gold. She's all like, not on my watch, pal, and proceeds to kick some serious pirate butt. While Suzuka's keeping the bad guys busy, Jean's pulling off some slick moves of his own, dodging traps and taking names like the space cowboy he is. But just when he thinks he's got it all figured out, he gets blindsided by some rogue robot with a mean streak. In the midst of all the chaos, the cops show up and the baddies decide to cut their losses and bounce. Jim's left picking up the pieces, quite literally, as half his garage lies in ruins. But wait, there's more. Jim walks into the house to find Suzuka chilling with Melfina like they're old pals. Turns out she's not so bad after all. In fact, she even offers to lend a hand in their ongoing battle against the key pirates. But before they can say mission accomplished, Jean collapses, leaving Jim to play the role of concerned sidekick once again. Looks like our hero's got some healing to do before he's back in action. So Jean's got himself in a bit of a pickle, his wounds festering thanks to some poison needles, and the only cure is in the hands of the very pirates trying to steal his ship. Classic space drama, am I right? But hold up, Gilliam's got some news. The bad guys want to negotiate. They'll hand over the antidote if Jean and the gang abandon ship and hand it over to them. Jean, grinning through the pain like the space cowboy he is, knows better than to trust the key pirates. Nice try, fellas, he mutters as Jim shuts down the transmission faster than you can say pirate booty. Suzuka's on board with Jean's plan because let's face it, trusting pirates is like trusting a space cat not to knock over your space face. Spoiler alert, never ends well. Meanwhile, Melfina's brainstorming like a boss. She figures she can whip up an antidote herself because why rely on sketchy space pirates when you've got a genius A and a can-do attitude? With time ticking away, Melfina drags Jean to the ship's connection room, where she works her magic while Jean drifts off into a fevered dream about his dear old dad. But don't worry, folks. Melfina's got this. She wraps Jean in a reassuring hug, whispering sweet nothings about everything being A-OK. And just like that, Jean's feeling as good as new. But wait, there's more drama on the horizon. The enemy's rolling in with some fancy-pants mechanized soldiers ready to crash Jean's pity party with a bang. As if things couldn't get any crazier, Fred hits up Jim with some newsflash about more key pirate ships headed their way. Talk about a space traffic jam. With the enemy literally knocking on their door, Jim's sweating bullets about what to do next. But fear not, because Jean's back in action, taking the pilot's seat like a boss while Melfina channels her inner spaceship whisperer. The enemy's not giving up without a fight though. They're trying to bust in like it's a space-themed game of cops and robbers. But Jean's not having it. With a few well-placed shots, he takes down 2 of the 3 soldiers, while Suzuka swoops in to finish off the 3rd with her trademark grace. Just when things are looking up, Jean decides it's time to punch it. The ship blasts off like a rocket, leaving a trail of chaos in its wake as the control tower gets a taste of his own medicine. But the party's just getting started. More enemy ships are closing in, and Jean's gearing up for round 2. With a twinkle in his eye and a smirk on his face, he's ready to take on whatever the universe throws his way. After all, when you're the captain of the Outlaw Star, there's no such thing as a boring day at the office. And so our heroes set their sights on Haiphong, or hopefully they'll find a job lucrative enough to cover the cost of all this space drama. But knowing Jean, it's only a matter of time before they're back in the thick of it, chasing adventure and dodging danger like there's no tomorrow. Ah, the joys of space travel, where every day brings a new adventure and every decision could be your last. Gilliam's practically pulling his digital hair out, trying to keep up with Jean's reckless antics. Seriously, who takes such a dangerous route to Haiphong? Oh right, our fearless captain, that's who. Meanwhile, the crew's snoozing away like they're on vacation, while Jean's sleepwalking his way around the ship like it's his own personal space disco. The next day, Melfin is playing chef while Jim's busy playing handyman. But Jean, while he's still catching some Z's, much to Jim's dismay. There's work to be done, maintenance to catch up on, and if they don't sort out the chaos they left behind when they launched, dinner might just be a lost cause. As they bicker over who's responsible for what, Suzuka strolls in, all cool and collected, until Jean's immature antics push her buttons and she storms off in a huff. Hey, who knew the space assassin had a soft spot for table manners? Jim's not too thrilled about having Suzuka on board, but Jean's got a point. They need all the muscle they can get with those pesky key pirates on their tail. Plus, who else is going to keep them safe when they reach Haiphong? Speaking of which, they're just 3 days out from their destination. But Jean's itching for a fight, so naturally, he's cooking up some scheme to stir up trouble. Gilliam's sighing in exasperation, but hey, what's a space adventure without a little danger, right? They dock at Kozart Space Station, and Jean's got his eye on a certain bounty worth a cool 10,000 wongs. After scaring the pants off the locals with just the mention of the guy's name, Jean storms into the bar like he owns the place, ready to take down this so-called wanted criminal. Upstairs, he finds Mr. Zamba himself just chilling with a book like he's on vacation. But Jean's not here for small talk. He wants that bounty, and he wants it now. Cue an epic showdown in a dilapidated church, with Jean and Zamba duking it out like it's the main event at the Space Olympics. With Jim's help and his trusty PDA, Jean spots Zamba's weak spot and goes in for the kill. But just when they think it's all over, Zamba pulls a fast one on them, revealing himself to be nothing more than a glorified robot decoy. Disappointed but not defeated, Jean hands over the fake Zamba and pockets his measly reward. Meanwhile, Suzuka's out there making waves of her own, taking down the real Zamba and raking in the cash like it's nobody's business. As they leave the station, Jean spots an ad for the Haiphong space race, and suddenly, his sights are set on a new prize, beating McDougal at his own game. Looks like our fearless captain's got a new mission, and this time's personal. Ah, Haiphong, where dreams come true and entry fees will make you cry. Jean's cruising into orbit like he owns the place, ready to take on the big city, an even bigger space race. Jim's practically drooling over the sight of Haifeng's towering skyline, but Suzuku's got her eyes on the prize. She wants to know Jean's game plan, and let's just say she's not exactly thrilled about his grand idea of entering the race with the Outlaw star. As Jean waltzes into the registration office, he's hit with a reality check, entry fees that could bankrupt a small planet. But being the smooth operator he is, Jean tries to charm his way out of it, flirting shamelessly with the receptionist and asking for her number like he's auditioning for a space soap opera. But alas, even Jean's silver tongue can't sweet-talk his way out of this one. With entry fees sky-high and sponsors as elusive as a comet, Jean's left with no choice but to face the music. And let's just say he's not exactly happy about it. Over dinner, Jim tries to talk some sense into Jean, but our fearless captain's got stars in his eyes and dreams of glory in his heart. Even Suzuku's not buying it, and she's not afraid to let Jean know it. Desperate times call for desperate measures, and Jean's not above begging for help, even if it means swallowing his pride and asking Suzuku for a loan. But she's not about to break her golden rule, leaving Jean high and dry with only 3 measly wons to his name. But just when all hope seems lost, in swoops Fred like a space-saving angel, offering to sponsor Jean's crazy race dreams, with a catch of course. Finish in the top 3 or face the wrath of Fred's balance sheet. Jean's got no choice but to agree. And just like that, he's back in the game. As the crew gears up for the big race, Gilliam's got some questions about Jean's latest scheme, but our captain's too busy chasing glory to bother with detail. The pre-race party's in full swing, and Jean's on the hunt for his arch-nemesis, McDougal. But before he can track down his rival, he's blindsided by a familiar face, Aisha, the crybaby cat girl with a heart of gold. She's serving drinks at the party, but one look at Jean and she's a sobbing mess. Talk about awkward. With the race route set and competitors lining up, it's go time for Jean and the crew. But just as they launch into the fray, Jean's reckless piloting sends them straight into a space storm of epic proportions. Looks like the race is off to a rocky start, but knowing Jean, he'll find a way to turn this disaster into a victory or crash and burn trying. Here's no way out for our hero Jean. He's pushing the engine to its limits, racing through metal space clouds like it's no big deal. Suddenly, the control tower buzzes in. Hey Jean, they say you've passed the checkpoint. And guess what? Jean's in 6th place, rubbing shoulders with the big shots. But hold on to your seats, folks, because the next checkpoint might as well be on Mars. It's 500 million kilometers away. Meanwhile, the commentators are losing their minds over Jean's rookie success. Who knew a newbie could shake things up like this? So what does Jean do next? Does he kick back and grab a snack? No. He storms into the dining area, demanding answers from the crew of the Eldorado ship. But of course, nobody's talking. Harry Williams plays dumb faster than you can say McDougal. Things get tense when Harry threatens to call the race police, but Jean's not backing down. He's here to win. Meanwhile, the second checkpoint decides to play hide-and-seek thanks to some pesky ether stream. And then there's Aisha, plotting an ambush like a cat ready to pounce. Too bad her ship's armed with nothing but a single machine gun and 0 missiles. Talk about being unprepared. But hey, Jean's not slowing down. He's hitting speeds of 12 kilometers per second, breezing through checkpoints like they're nothing. Suddenly, a distress call interrupts the race. Some poor sap's stuck in an asteroid mess, and who comes to the rescue? None other than Jean himself. But wait, plot twist. It's Aisha behind the distress call, pulling off a classic bait and switch. Jean's left stunned, wondering what other tricks she's got up her sleeve. With Aisha on board, Jean kicks it into high gear. But just when they think they're in the clear, Gilliam's blaring warnings about missiles headed their way. Talk about a close call. They dodged the missiles like pros, but now they're stuck in normal space with a busted reactor. No sub-ether drive means no finishing the race. Aisha's yelling and Jean's brainstorming. And just when all hope seems lost, Jean has a light bulb moment. He's gonna ride the ether stream like a cosmic surfer baby. Eldorado clears the 4th checkpoint, and Jean snags 4th place like a champ. To top it all off, Fred's throwing some serious cash Jean's way. 200,000 wons, not too shabby. But of course, Harry's got one last message up his sleeve. What's he scheming now? Looks like Jean's adventure is far from over. In a world where the McDougal brothers are more myth than men, their reputation precedes them. No evidence, no sightings, just whispers in the underworld of their infamous deeds for the right price. Even Gilliam, the ship's AI, can't resist a dramatic warning about solar flares and magnetic storms. But does Jean flinch? Nah, he's ready to pack up the Eldorado and roll. But hold up. Lyon Lagrange Point is calling for a duel, and Jean's got front row seats. Gilliam's all doom and gloom about the atmosphere, but hey, they've got a new member on board, Aisha. But before she can join the crew, Jean's got to ask the big question. What's the deal with the Galactic Leyline? Aisha spills the beans about treasure, dragonite, and enough wealth to buy a solar system. Jean's scratching his head, thinking it's just a fancy gateway. But before they set sail, Gwen Khan, the race official, throws some shade about the XGP. Jean plays it cool, saying he found it, leaving Gwen speechless. Just when things seemed chill, Gilliam's fixing reactors and spotting missiles headed their way. Jim's on point, blasting those suckers to smithereens. Then Harry chimes in, talking tough about the duel. Meanwhile, the asteroid belt's throwing a party, and not the fun kind. The enemy's playing peekaboo, firing missiles left and right like it's a game of cosmic dodgeball. But Gene's not one to back down. With the Outlaw Star's grappler arms locked and loaded, he's shooting down missiles like it's target practice. Breathing heavily, he's in the zone until, boom, he takes a hit. But he's not out yet, folks. More missiles, more dodging, more adrenaline pumping. Then, in a stroke of genius, Gene calls in Aisha for backup. Suddenly, they spot the El Dorado, and it's on like Donkey Kong. Grappler arms versus grappler arms, it's a showdown for the ages. Gene storms the ship, taking out goons left and right until... Plot twist. Gilliam's under attack. With the ship on lockdown, Gene confronts the man behind the mayhem, Harry McDougal. It's a tense standoff, but Gene's not one to mince words. He's demanding answers about his father's death, but Harry's as clueless as a goldfish. Just when things are heating up, Jim spots another El Dorado on the horizon. A quick getaway's in order, but Harry's not going down without a fight. He pulls a Vidini, leaving Gene and the gang in the dust. And just like that, poof. The remaining ship goes kaboom, leaving Harry nursing his wounds. But hey, there's no rest for the wicked. Aisha's waving a red flag, and Gene's off the races once more. Gene and Jim are living the dream, or so they thought. Turns out their enterprise isn't exactly booming, and with those spaceport parking fees eating into their wallets, they're feeling the pinch. Just when they're lamenting their lack of big jobs, and walks Aisha with an offer they can't refuse, hunting down ferocious critters in the downtown sewers. But Gene's not exactly thrilled at the prospect and promptly kicks Aisha out. Typical Gene move, right? But just as they're about to sink into despair, Fred rings up with a job offer. Seeing he's got some missing cargo to track down, cargo he was. Smuggling. Jim's all for it, but Gene's holding out for the big leagues. Yet with the spaceport fees looming large, he reluctantly agrees. While Jim and Melfina are off on Fred's errand, Gene's left twiddling his thumbs, flirting with the receptionist and dreaming of big bucks. But then a strange request from an even stranger ice cream vendor catches his eye. Something fishy's definitely a fruit, or should I say, a scoop. Meanwhile, Jim and Melfina are knee-deep in a sewer safari, hunting down Aisha's elusive beastie. But when Aisha gets tangled in some web-like goo, Jim's dialing her employer faster than you can say icky. Back at the ice cream parlor, Gene's starting to put two and two together, especially when he spies a cactus that seems to be more than just a prickly plant. But before he can investigate further, a call from Jim puts everything on pause. Turns out there's more to that cactus than meets the eye. It's controlling Jim and making him a run for the sewers. With Melfina breaking free from the mind games, she's on a mission to save Jim from the cactus' clutches. And when the dust settles, it's Melfina who delivers the final blow, reducing that pesky plant to nothing but bits. But Aisha's not one to let a bounty slip through her fingers. Despite the chaos, she's hot on the trail of the bug that got away. And what's their reward for all this mayhem? A measly 700 wongs. Ouch. As if things couldn't get any weirder, Suzuku shows up with yet another odd job, only to get promptly shown the door. Gene's stuck in tugboat purgatory, with even Gilliam giving the nod to this less than glamorous gig. But just as he's bemoaning his fate, Aisha hits him with a transmission hotter than her temper. Looks like there's a CM ship heading their way, and Gene's on deck to wrangle it back to port. Talk about a cosmic conundrum. Jim's surprisingly cool with the job, seeing it as a chance to snag a parking discount for the Outlaw Star. And with the space station bustling thanks to a jewelry exhibition, it's a prime time for some interstellar shenanigans. But before they can blink, the CM ship's on their tail, and Jim's kicking it into high gear. Except, oops, a ship's got other plans. Anchors are flying, systems are crashing, and Gilliam's playing dead to avoid a cyber showdown. Suddenly, a transmission crackles to life with a warning. They've got 5 hours to live, courtesy of a mysterious figure named Crackerjack. Turns out the People's Liberation Front's got a bone to pick with the Viceroy of Haiphong, and they're not afraid to blow up the Outlaw Star to make their point. With the clock ticking and the tension rising, Gene's got one shot to defuse the bomb, but the stakes couldn't be higher. One wrong move and it's game over for our intrepid crew. But leave it to Gene to keep his cool, well, mostly. With Jim cracking jokes and Melfina keeping the peace, they're a regular comedy trio in the face of impending doom. Meanwhile, Suzuku and Aisha are hot on the trail of the terrorists, uncovering a plot as tangled as Gene's spaghetti dinner. Turns out, it's all a ruse to rob the jewelry exhibition blind. But just when it looks like all hope is lost, Gene bursts onto the scene, ready to take down Crackerjack and his cronies in one fell swoop. With a punch that could knock out a space whale, Gene saves the day and the jewels, leaving the bad guys eating stardust. And just like that, the Outlaw Star rides off into the sunset, heroes once again in a galaxy full of surprises. Azenko's cooked up a real doozy this time, the N7, a band of assassins so deadly they make black holes look friendly. First up on Gene's hit list is Shimi, a legendary warrior with a reputation that's got even the pirates quaking in their space boots. But to Azenko, Gene's just a pesky outlaw with a stolen ship. Why bother sending the big guns after him? Well, it turns out Azenko's got a sixth sense for trouble, and he sniffed out a powerful chai line heading Gene's way, whatever that means. Meanwhile, Jim and Gene are feeling the pinch for cash. But before they can even think about scraping together some space credits, Shimi crashes the party with a not-so-friendly invitation to a duel at Wankoku Hill. Jean's ready to throw down, but not before a detour for liquid courage. Unfortunately for him, the local ladies aren't exactly his type, and neither is the mid-aged dude who tries to crash his party. Talk about a cosmic cockblock. Back on the ship, Melfin is trying to keep the peace, but Jean's too busy having nightmares about getting shot in the face by Shimi. Just your typical pre-duel jitters, right? The next day, it's showtime. Jean and Shimi face off, guns blazing, but it's Jean who comes out on top. Too bad Shimi's not interested in leaving behind a pathetic corpse and blows himself to bits. Talk about a dramatic exit, but the real kicker? Turns out Shimi's just a pawn in Lylong's game. This guy's the real deal, and he's not here to play nice. With swords drawn and shields shattered, it's all-out chaos on Wankoku Hill. Just when it looks like Jean's toast, his trusty crew swoops in to save the day. But Lylong's not done yet, and he's got a few tricks up his sleeve. A one-on-one showdown with a single shot each? Sounds like a recipe for disaster. But Jean's not one to back down from a challenge, even if it means staring death in the face. With Suzuku, Jim, and Aisha on his side, he's ready to take on whatever the universe throws at him. In the end, it's a bittersweet victory. Lylong's gone, but the threat of the N7 still looms large. Looks like Jean's got his work cut out for him, but hey, at least he's got a killer crew by his side. And as for Lylong, well, he may be down for now, but something tells me he'll be back for round 2. After all, you can't keep a good outlaw down. A mysterious old-timer with a cane and a limp sets his sights on the Outlaw Star crew at the spaceport. He's got a treasure hunt on his mind. But before they can even say pirate's booty, Jean, Jim, and Melfina find themselves in a fancy restaurant with Aisha serving up some sass along with the expensive dishes. Turns out their client's a real swashbuckler, complete with a pirate getup and a thirst for adventure. He's got the scoop on a treasure worth a cool 5 million wongs, and he's banking on Jean's grappler ship to reel it in. But before they can set sail, trouble comes knocking in the form of bandits crashing the joint. Aisha's not one to hold back, and she's soon laying the smack down while Jean, Melfina, and Jim make a hasty exit. Just when they think they've dodged a bullet, the old man from the spaceport pops up out of nowhere, ready to spill the beans on his quest for treasure. But with explosive secrets and monstrous obstacles in their path, Jean's got his work cut out for him. As they navigate the treacherous waters of Haifeng 7, the old man spins a tale of pirate plunder and deadly demons lurking beneath the waves. Turns out it's not just any treasure they're after. It's the mother lode of Dragonite, guarded by the sea's fiercest beasts. With Gilliam keeping an eye out for trouble, Jean and the crew make their move, boarding the pirate ship and facing off against the monstrous guardian of the treasure. But when push comes to shove, it's the old man who takes matters into his own hands, sacrificing himself to take down the Demon King once and for all. In the end, the treasure may not be as shiny as they'd hoped, but with memories made and lessons learned, Jean plants the old man's cane as a tribute to their fallen comrade. And as they sail off into the sunset, they know one thing for sure. There's always another adventure waiting just around the corner. Melfina stumbles into a Silbrian religious gallery, hoping to find answers to life's big questions. But instead of enlightenment, she's greeted by a befuddled priest who's clearly not prepared for her existential crisis. Looks like Melfina's got more questions than the priest has answers. Meanwhile, Harry's tinkering with his cyborg arm when his big bro barges in, itching for some action. The McDougal brothers are itching for a showdown with Jean, and they're not about to let a little thing like Harry's recovery stand in their way. Back at the homestead, Jean and Jim are busy scavenging for parts in the garbage dump when they get a video message from Clyde. Spoiler alert, it's not exactly riveting stuff. But things take a turn for the interesting when Jean gets a call from none other than the elder McDougal brother himself. The McDougal clan's got their sights set on Jean's ship and Melfina, and they're not taking no for an answer. But Jean's not about to roll over and play nice, especially not when the words Galactic Leyline are thrown into the mix. Cue a classic standoff, the Hellenism restaurant, with Jean bringing backup in the form of Suzuka and Aisha. But the McDougals aren't playing fair, busting out some fancy new Space Force weapons to even the odds. Meanwhile, Melfina's got her own problems to deal with when Harry comes knocking with flowers and not-so-friendly intentions. Looks like it's time for Melfina to channel her inner action hero and give Harry a run for his money. Back on the battlefield, Jean's throwing everything he's got at the McDougals, but their line light shield is putting up a tough fight. With no other options left, Jean's forced to unleash the caster and hope for the best. But just when it looks like all hope is lost, Melfina pulls off a Hail Mary move, setting Harry packing with a scream that'll make your ears ring. Looks like the McDougals have bitten off more than they can chew this time. With the dust settled and the McDougals in retreat, Jean's got a new mission on his hands, finding the elusive Galactic Leyline. But with Melfina still grappling with her identity, Jean's in a financial pickle, so he turns to his old pal Fred for a loan. But instead of doling out cash, Fred's got a proposition that's equal parts bizarre and hilarious. Turns out, Fred's in a tight spot himself. If Reiko Ando wins the Galactic Strong Men tournament for the 5th time, Fred's gotta tie the knot with her. Fred's sweating bullets at the thought of marrying a muscle-bound champion, and Jean can't help but crack up at the idea. But desperate times call for desperate measures, so Jean strikes a deal with Fred to take down Reiko, and save him from marital doom. With Aisha banned from the tournament thanks to some past, indiscretions, Jean's gotta get creative. Cool Melfina's genius idea. Jean's gonna don a disguise and enter the tournament as Jenny. But just when things seem to be going according to plan, Aisha swoops in, kidnaps a fighter, and takes her place in the ring. Talk about a twist. The tournament kicks off with Jean facing off against Reiko, who's dreaming of matrimonial bliss with Fred. But Jean's not about to let that happen without a fight, or at least some good old-fashioned teasing. Unfortunately, Jean's smack talk lands him flat on his back and he wakes up in the infirmary with Fred giving him an earful. Looks like Jean's got to step up his game if he wants to save Fred from the dreaded wedding bells. Meanwhile, Aisha's tearing through the competition and making her way to the finals. But when she goes toe-to-toe with Irada, things take a wild turn. Turns out Irada's a troll, and the crowd's not too happy about it. As chaos ensues and pirates start crashing the party, Aisha and Irada unleash their true forms and duke it out in a battle of epic proportions. With the building collapsing around them, it's up to Jean and the gang to save the day. In the end, Aisha emerges victorious, and Fred's off the hook, both financially and romantically. With their mission accomplished, Jean and the crew blast off into the cosmos for their next adventure. As Jean and the crew of the Outlaw Star prepare to set out into space, they encounter a local pirate ship looking for trouble. Without hesitation, Jean takes them down but realizes they're low on supplies, so he decides to anchor the defeated pirate ship, hoping to scavenge some much-needed ammo and food. But their brief moment of respite is shattered when Melfina warns Jean of 3 more ships approaching. This time, security forces warships demanding their surrender. Reluctantly, Jean complies and finds himself detained at a space station, Outlaw Star docked and his weapons confiscated. Separated from his crew, Jean finds himself face-to-face with Duz, the tactical officer of the security forces. A tense exchange ensues, with Jean trying to convince Valeria, another officer, of the impending pirate attack. When Valeria shows him evidence of a recent civilian ship massacre, Jean's warnings gain credence. But before they can act, chaos erupts as disguised pirates infiltrate the station, unleashing havoc. Jean and his crew spring into action, fighting off the pirates and aiding the overwhelmed security forces. In the heat of battle, Jean's resourcefulness shines as he commandeers an enemy ship and takes down the invaders. In the aftermath, Valeria acknowledges Jean's assistance, returning his confiscated ammo and offering payment for their heroics. Though the question of the XP lingers, Duz lets it slide, issuing a warning to Jean and his crew to stay on the right side of the law. With their newfound respect from the security forces, Jean and the Outlaw Star crew set off once again into the vast expanse of space. As the Outlaw Star nears transit station Simca 5, they encounter a mysterious ship closing in rapidly, ignoring all hails. Jean quickly switches the ship to grappler mode, realizing they're facing an enemy who wants a battle. Despite the enemy's initial advantage, Jean and Jim work together to devise a strategy to counter the threat. While Jean heads to the city for a drink, Jim stays behind to work on the ship, determined to find a way to defeat the enemy. In the city, Jim has a chance encounter with a girl named Hamio, sparking a connection between them. Jim, excited about his newfound romance, plans a date with Hamio for the next afternoon. Back on the ship, Jean receives a message from Fred containing valuable information, which he forwards to Jim. Meanwhile, Jim eagerly prepares for his date, seeking advice from Jean on what to give Hamio as a present. The next day, Jim meets Hamio with flowers in hand, and their date goes well. However, their budding romance takes a tragic turn when Hamio's ship reappears, revealing her true intention to kill Jean. In the ensuing battle, the Outlaw Star emerges victorious, but Jim is unaware that Hamio was aboard the enemy ship he helped destroy. As the crew returns to Simca for repairs, Jim waits for Hamio, unaware of her fate. Disappointed when she doesn't show up, Jim rejoins Jean and the crew as they set off once again into space, carrying with them the bittersweet memories of their encounter with Hamio. As Jean and the crew explore the ruins on the planet Dragon, they discover ancient artifacts and markings that hint at the existence of the Galactic Leyline. However, their exploration is interrupted by the arrival of the McDougalls, who are determined to capture Melfina and the Outlaw Star. While Jean and the crew delve deeper into the ruins, they uncover secrets about the Leyline and its significance. Melfina, feeling a strange connection to the place, experiences a mysterious phenomenon and encounters Harry, who tries to persuade her to leave with him. Jean intervenes to protect Melfina, leading to a confrontation with Harry and his armored suit. Amidst the chaos, the ruins begin to shake, and Jean's quick thinking helps to defeat Harry and save the crew. However, the ruins are destroyed in the process, leaving them with more questions than answers about the Leyline. Back on the Outlaw Star, Jean receives information from Gwen Khan about a prisoner who supposedly knows the coordinates of the Galactic Leyline. Despite his reluctance to enter a dangerous situation, Jean realizes that this may be her only lead. However, Gwen Khan disables Melfina's personality, insisting that it's necessary until Jean obtains the coordinates. Determined to uncover the truth about the Leyline, Jean prepares to journey into the heart of key pirate territory, knowing that the path ahead will be fraught with danger and uncertainty. As Jean infiltrates the infamous Gehenna prison under a false identity, he faces the harsh conditions of the facility, including its oppressive gravity and ruthless jailer. With the help of another inmate named Sayo, who holds crucial information about the Galactic Leyline, Jean navigates the treacherous environment. Despite warnings from Suzuku about the dangers of recklessness, Jean devises a daring plan to obtain the coordinates from Sayo. He requests a rare and expensive monopole from Gwen Khan, whose assistance in camouflaging Jean's criminal record facilitated his entry into the prison. Jean and Sayo are taken to the polar regions of the planet, where gravity reaches extreme levels. Sayo initially rebuffs Jean's inquiries about the leyline, citing the futility of escape attempts. However, Jean's persistence eventually earns Sayo's trust, and they form an unlikely alliance. As they return to the main prison area, a broadcast reveals the daring escape attempt of another inmate, Nikolai Ilovich. Despite the risks, Jean remains determined to secure the coordinates and orchestrate their own escape. A chaotic confrontation ensues between Jean and Sayo, culminating in Jean obtaining the monopole needed for their plan. Despite a setback when Jean is momentarily incapacitated, they manage to escape the prison vehicle's crash and activate the monopole's magnetic properties to float to safety. Meanwhile, Melfina awakens under Gwen Khan's control, but Suzuku intervenes and incapacitates Gwen Khan. With the coordinates secured from Sayo, Jean sets course for the Galactic Leyline, ready to uncover its mysteries and fulfill his quest. As Jean and his friends arrive on the spring planet Tenri, they find themselves immersed in its unique culture, where everyone dresses in bikinis or boxers. Jean seeks out wizards rumored to be capable of crafting special caster bullets, vital for their journey to the Galactic Leyline. Despite initial difficulties in locating the wizards, Jean eventually encounters Arkmanaf, the head priest of the temple at Motley, Nante, who offers insights into the history and creation of caster bullets. Jean learns about the rare and powerful number 9 bullet, which only the wizard Hadal can produce. To obtain the elusive number 9 bullet, Jean must venture to Mitinioti, a forbidden area for men. Ark proposes a daring plan if Jean can capture a promising video of Urt, the one responsible for the hot spring transformation of Tenri. Hadal and Ark will provide him with the coveted bullet. As Jean navigates the challenges of Mitinioti, including traps and icy terrain, he eventually encounters Urt. Through a series of table tennis matches, Jean secures 2 number 4 caster bullets and convinces Urt to engage in a high-stakes game for the embarrassing video. With the video in hand, Jean returns to Miti Nante, where Ark and Hadal reward him with the number 4 and 9 caster bullets. However, their celebration is short-lived as a bomb planted by Urt within the video cassette explodes, destroying the temple. Jean reunites with his friends and departs from Tenri, having acquired the necessary caster bullets for their journey. Despite the danger and chaos, their quest for the Galactic Leyline continues unabated. As Jean and his crew make their way towards the Galactic Leyline, they find themselves in the midst of a complex web of alliances and betrayals. Gwen Khan, now aligned with the McDougal brothers, aids them in their pursuit, seeking revenge for Jean's abandonment. Harry, infused with his ship Shangri-La's capabilities by Gwen Khan, becomes a formidable force capable of navigating them through the hazards of space. However, their journey is fraught with danger as Hazenko, seeking to betray King Tendu and the Empire, also sets his sights on the Leyline. The key pirates, including Suzuku's former comrades, add to the chaos, with their ship Ortahonhon entering the fray. Amidst the chaos, Melfina's true nature is revealed. She is not a mere bio-android, but a complex entity containing ancient genetic engineering data from 30,000 years ago. This knowledge, encoded within Melfina and the XGP, holds the key to unlocking the secrets of the Leyline. As they approach the Galactic Leyline, Hazenko confronts Jean, convinced that Melfina holds the secrets within her. However, before they can fully comprehend the situation, they are transported to an unknown location within the Leyline's structure. Confronted by a mysterious voice, the crew is questioned about their desires. With the fate of the Leyline hanging in the balance, Jean and his companions must navigate the complexities of their own desires and ambitions while unraveling the mysteries of this ancient and enigmatic construct. Jean, our hero, finds himself in a bit of a pickle. He's whisked away to some mystical place, and lo and behold, there's only one path in front of him. Talk about a road less traveled. Now our man Jean, bless his soul, manages to get a hold of Jim, probably to ask for directions. But hey, things aren't all sunshine and rainbows, because Hazenko and his sidekick assassin Jukai are teaming up while the rest of the gang gets scattered like confetti at a carnival. Hazenko's pulling off some gravity-defying stunt, floating in the air like he's auditioning for a magic show, heading straight for the Leyline. Meanwhile, Suzuku spots Jean and decides to tag along, because why not? Everyone's just marching ahead like they're on a mission to find the world's best ramen joint. But hold on to your hats, folks, because here comes the drama. Jean and Suzuku stumble upon a valley, and Jean, being the daredevil he is, decides to leap across like he's auditioning for the next Olympics. Suzuku's about to follow suit when guess who shows up? It's Hitorigo, one of Hazenko's goons, ready to crash the party. Suzuku's got some beef with this dude, especially since he's got a face that looks like it was copied and pasted from Suzuku's own. While all this drama unfolds, Jim and Aisha are having their own little adventure. Aisha's busy taking down assassins like she's swatting flies, while Jim's just trying to keep up, probably regretting not investing in some good running shoes. Back to Gene, who's not in the mood for any funny business. He whips out his trusty caster and tries to put an end to the lady assassin's seduction routine. Spoiler alert, it doesn't work. But fear not, Gene's got a trick up his sleeve, or should I say in his pocket. Creates a mini black hole, and voila, assassin problem solved. Well, mostly. It does drain a bit of Gene's life, but hey, nobody said saving the day was easy. Meanwhile, Harry's on a rescue mission of his own, professing his love to Melfina like he's auditioning for a romance movie. But just when things are getting mushy, Hazanko crashes the party like an uninvited guest at a wedding. Harry puts up a fight, but let's just say it doesn't end well for him. Rip Harry. Hazanko's got big plans, and he's not afraid to break a few bones or hearts to get what he wants. He orders Melfina to open the gates because apparently she's the key to unlocking some ancient secrets. Talk about pressure. In the midst of all this chaos, Suzaku's duking it out with Hitoriga, and let's just say things get heated. Suzaku pulls off a move that even Hitoriga didn't see coming. And just like that, it's game over for the copycat-faced villain. Aisha's not one to be left out of the action though. She takes down her own set of baddies like she's competing in a martial arts tournament. But all that fighting takes its toll, and she ends up taking a little nap. Hey, even superheroes need their beauty sleep. Meanwhile, one Cons arrived at the gates only to find Ron sobbing over Harry's unfortunate demise. Talk about a buzzkill. Ron's pointing fingers and casters at Gwen, blaming him for Harry's untimely end. But Gene's not about to let Ron ruin his day. He whips out his caster and sends Ron packing with a number 9 bullet, whatever that means. Bye-bye, Ron. As Gene's life flashes before his eyes. Childhood memories, adventures with his dad, and of course Melfina. He wakes up to find Jim by his side. And you know what? Outlaw Star suddenly seems like a pretty good plan. Gene takes a leap of faith through the gate, only to find himself face to face with Gwen Con. And just when you think things can't get any crazier, Harry pops up out of nowhere on a mission to find his beloved Melfina. The poor guy's barely clinging to life, but hey, he's got spirit, quite literally. And just like that, he finds Melfina, his one true love, on the other side. But before he takes his final bow, Harry has one last request for Gene. To tell Melfina to sing her heart out for him. And with that, he fades away into the great beyond. The Galactic Leyline, like the ultimate genie in a space-age bottle, grants Hazanko an audience. The guy's got some big dreams, asking for power to make Tendu bend over backward and even crush the Emperor. Talk about aiming high. But fear not, for our hero Gene swoops in like a space cowboy on a mission. With a flick of his wrist, well, more like a blast from his caster, he sends Hazanko spinning into a black hole, like a villain in a cosmic washing machine. The only problem? Gene's left feeling a bit woozy, thanks to the side effects of his heroic deeds. Meanwhile, one Con's doing his thing, seeing the Leyline as some sort of cosmic puppet master pulling the strings of fate. It's like he stumbled into a sci-fi version of a fortune teller's den, except with way cooler special effects. Back to Gene, who's suddenly playing detective in the middle of all this chaos. Melfina's awake, and he's all, hey, are you okay? But then Hazanko crashes the party again, spouting some conspiracy theories about Melfina being a puppet created by tech-savvy villains. Cue the dramatic music. Melfina's not having it though, she's all like, Gene, did you know about this? And Gene, bless his clueless heart, just yells back that he's as surprised as she is. Classic Gene. But when push comes to shove, or in this case, when casters start firing, Gene doesn't hesitate. He blasts Hazanko into oblivion, along with any hopes of a peaceful resolution. It's like a space opera meets a shootout at high noon, with Gene playing the reluctant hero. Meanwhile, Jim's waiting in the wings, probably wondering if this is all covered by their insurance policy. Suzaku's trying to keep him calm, but let's face it, when your buddy's out there fighting intergalactic baddies, nerves are bound to get a little frayed. Back in cyberspace, things are heating up as Gene and Hazanko go toe-to-toe in a virtual showdown. It's like Tron meets the Matrix, with Gene channeling his inner Neo to take down the bad guy. And just when you think it's all over, Melfina steps up to the plate. She and Gene combine their powers like some sort of cosmic tag team, ready to take on Hazanko once and for all. In the end, it's a battle for the ages. Gene versus Hazanko, Outlaw versus villain, with the fate of the universe hanging in the balance. And when the dust settles, it's Gene who emerges victorious, like a phoenix rising from the ashes of battle. But it's not all sunshine and rainbows. The Galactic Leyline has vanished, leaving our heroes to pick up the pieces and start anew. Gene's back on Sentinel, paying his dues both in terms of time served and bail money coughed up by good old Jim. But fear not, for this isn't the end of our tale. With the crew of the Outlaw Star reunited, they set off on a new journey through the stars, ready to face whatever challenges come their way. And as they soar through the cosmos, they carry with them the memories of those they've lost, paying tribute to the fallen and forging ahead into the great unknown. Because in the end, it's not the destination that matters, it's the journey and the friends we make along the way.